My name is Delvin Varghese, and I'm a research fellow at Action Lab, a group that conducts real-world research with communities, NGOs, and government bodies at Monash University. Delivering training to volunteers is a huge challenge for NGOs or non-governmental organizations within international development. Traditional approaches that dominate training are classroom-based and didactic in nature. They miss out on engaging trainees in more effective manners due to the limited participation that they offer. This also results in the valuable local expertise and lived experience of trainees not being adequately utilized in the training context. To address this problem, this paper reports on the delivery of training and shares reflections from trainers and trainees on using technology to utilize participant voice in training workshops. We present how this affects the dynamic between trainers and trainees and put forward valuable lessons for designing such systems. NGOs frequently use lecture-based methods for staff training. However, while lectures are effective at presenting large quantities of information in short periods of time and to large audiences, they offer very limited opportunities for participation, especially for students or trainees so that they could become actively involved. They are also ineffective when long-term knowledge retention is required. Practical training methods that go beyond the typical classroom environment are thus needed. We work together with BE Foundation, or BEF, who are an NGO based in Southeast India that provides interpersonal skills training to community youth volunteers. Their existing approach to volunteer training is a co-located workshop consisting of classroom-based sessions and is attended by participants from across the regions. Our collaboration was motivated by two design questions. One, how can audio technologies be used to overcome the situational and contextual challenges of local volunteer training? And secondly, how can the use of audio technologies support sustainable and flexible modes of training driven by peer-led participant voice? We'll clarify what these terms mean as we go along. After the workshop, we interviewed both trainers and trainees. Voice recordings and interview recordings were transcribed, and then an inductive thematic analysis was conducted. The majority of the volunteers were youth from rural backgrounds who were either in college or recent school leavers from a low socioeconomic background. A workshop-based format is used to provide training on soft skills development, such as communication, conflict resolution, and goal setting, and this enabled volunteers to think critically about development issues in their local community. To foster the aspect of peer-based learning and a sense of teamwork, participants were allocated into one of 6 groups. Each group proposed a group name and appointed a facilitator from within their team to manage group conversations. We used a system called GABA to facilitate this process. And the reasons we used GABA was because it had features that would enable us to help trainees to record their group conversations and to enable the trainers to retrieve these conversations and play them back for further reflection. In the initial workshop session, the trainee groups coordinators were given a mobile phone with the GABA application pre-installed. During each instance of this activity, the coordinators led their groups to a different location for 20 minutes and captured audio recordings in response to each conversation prompt that were given as part of the sessions they were just in. Participants were encouraged to have informal conversations, and there was no expectations on their arriving on a correct answer. GABA was implemented in this way in the workshop, and the following 3-step process explains this in more detail. Firstly, trainees recorded audio discussions using GABA based on prompts created by the trainers related to the sessions. In the second step, trainers retrieved the audio recordings from GABA and reflected on them. Trainers selected audio clips that were insightful or would enable peer reflection. Finally, the trainer selected some clips that would be useful in prompting further learning among the wider group. Participants commented on the benefits and drawbacks of using a technology-mediated training compared to their expectations of a traditional training delivery model. They described that it made them confront their fears of public speaking and of sharing their views openly, and equally that this was a thrilling opportunity. One trainer commented that technology was giving a chance to all the participants to work on these challenges, and that people felt pride to hear the voices of their own group conversations and discussions being heard in front of other people. The trainees were driven to contribute and be recognized by the trainers and their peers. As each trainee belonged to a group, they developed a sense of group identity over the course of the training. Individual recognition of peers also contributed to the group status, which in turn helped elevate the person's status within the group and also within the wider group of workshop participants. Thus, a supportive yet competitive environment was pervasive in the workshop activities. Local social constructs around gender roles impacted on group dynamics and participant behavior within the workshop activities. One participant summarized this issue as, "In Tamil Nadu and Indian culture, women are not allowed to participate in volunteerism, and even in my own home also, they do not allow me to come home late. This is a drawback for the women who want to achieve their goals or if they want to improve their community." The participants deliberated on the obstacles they have to overcome to take part in volunteerism and training, particularly obstacles from their families and immediate society. Their desire to give back to the community is not appreciated. Trainees, and in particular female trainees, initially perceived the configuration of the training and the higher participation levels required as a challenge, and the trainers picked up on this. However, with the help of their peers and the prompting of the coordinators in the groups, they were able to gain confidence in making contributions. In light of these findings, we can bring some insights into how the use of audio and participant voice can transform organizational training. Bringing externally captured audio into workshops has the potential to lower the bar to active workshop participation, because it allows participants the opportunity to engage with other trainees who may not be co-located with them in the training session. In this regard, audio recording and reuse in training sessions was considered highly desirable, as opposed to taking notes and presenting their insights orally at the end of sessions. The use of audio technologies to facilitate comparative self-evaluation and even promote competition was not a design consideration we anticipated in designing our workshop activities. The participant responses in many cases arose from a desire for continuous improvement. Yet, the public nature of the attribution of the snippets of recorded voice caused participants to critically reflect on their own contributions in light of the contributions of others. The opportunities afforded by audio technologies to support rural volunteers, and many of them traveled considerable distances to attend this training. Audio technologies afford many opportunities to support rural volunteers, who, after all, traveled considerable distances to attend training and are otherwise not able to access regular training. Many of the female participants were acutely aware of gender disparities in how volunteering is performed, and they were interested in how technologies could help them address barriers to participation in volunteerism. It could be argued that one has to design with the constraints and barriers in order to subvert them. Furthermore, there was much interest in using audio technologies not just in training, but in everyday work practices, as the potential to address societal issues was explored. One way to mitigate the ethical challenges associated with using media technologies would be to consider dynamic consent, where the trainee has more control of their contributions beyond the initial consent given prior to participating. This is particularly crucial in the context of content reuse, where a trainee might feel that their previous contribution is no longer representative of their current views, or perhaps they no longer want their views on a particular topic available to peers or other members of the organization. A drawback of methods that utilize audio technologies is that the training content might not be standardized from one training event to another, as new content is generated by trainees in each event. In addition, variations in quality will be introduced by the quality of trainee contributions and even the facilitator's level of experience and skill set. One way to counter this is through media reuse, playing back contributions of trainees from previous training sessions. The trainer can thus coach the trainees to share their experiences and contribute by helping them see examples of good contributions from past workshops. Our findings demonstrate that trainees were able to become agents in their own learning and at the same time participate in the community where sharing experiences are important for learning. We found that the peer-led focus of processes enabled by audio technologies can contribute to a greater sense of empowerment among trainees. They also challenge our assumptions around training delivery formats. To conclude, training can be effective and fun at the same time.